Hey there, every week I send out an email toward the end of the week giving you a tip or a pointer on personal growth, psychology, communication, and of course, relationships. If you want to receive that, go to relationshipschool.com/newsletter and make sure you're on my list so that I can send you these emails. I think they're awesome, high quality content coming your way. Welcome back, Ellen Boeder.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
It's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You know, it's kind of cool that there's two moments to remind people to care about their partner. Wedding anniversaries and Valentine's Day. Oh, right. I'm supposed to care. Shit. Should I get some flowers?
Right. Maybe it's a good reset for people, or if they need that. Or like a reminder. If for some weird reason this weird Hallmark holiday helps people actually care about each other, yeah,
great.
It might. I bet it does for some people. We're not that into Valentine's Day. It's not so much our thing, but
no.
If it helps you, awesome.
Yeah, if it helps you, great. And I think our bias is, every day is Valentine's Day. And it's not about like going
I get flowers every day.
Yeah, but it's not about going above and beyond. Like, wouldn't that be silly? It's about behaving in a way that has your partner feel like a priority.
Yeah.
Every day. Like, can you do that? And it's hard to do with a busy life. And
it is hard to do. It's a practice. It's like you have to keep your mind on that. Like that you need to convey to your partner, you matter. I care about you. I'm interested in you. I'm curious about you. If you're both doing that, that can do a lot.
I think it does a ton.
It does a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about love. And it is kind of ironic that it's Valentine's Day. So where do we start? Well, I was listening to John DeMartini, one of my favorite people that I've studied with. He just opened my eyes to so many things. And he's funny because he's like not that relational of a guy, but he's got some great relationship frames. And one thing I learned from him that helped me in my own life as well as help other people was about infatuation versus love. So maybe we can unpack that a little bit. Yeah,
you were all fired up or whatever. You were excited about reviewing all that material the other day.
Yeah,
we were talking about it.
So solid. First of all, I think many people confuse the two, love and infatuation. People also confuse love and attachment.
Yes.
Andrew Huberman being one of them. When I listened to his sex, love, and attachment or whatever podcast, I was like, bro, you're missing something really major here.
Oh, interesting. I should listen to that.
I left a comment on his YouTube channel, but he didn't reply back. Anyway, but we're talking about just love and infatuation and how people, kind of how it seems to work is people fall in love with someone. You meet someone and then you, quote, fall in love with them, which is a misnomer, but that's what the term people use is I fell in love. We fell in love. Yeah. Yeah, and it's fine. But then they wonder what happens after that stage, because it's a stage.
You fall out of love, I guess.
Well, a lot of people think that.
I know.
And the relationship, essentially, what we know, you and I, after working with so many people for so long, is that their relationship gets difficult. Challenges come in. Things get hard. The person gets annoying. It's like, oh, I didn't sign up for this, or I didn't know you were like that.
Right.
And then they start to resent their partner.
And go ahead.
And then they create, and then so begins this journey of blame and trying to get them to be different. Wait, I want you to be back where you were in the beginning. You were easy, you were nice, we had a lot in common. And then people may mistakenly take this path for some reason. They get really frustrated and they keep trying to get back to some sort of good feeling, and they're often using an outside-in approach, and it just turns into a big fucking mess. And if they had a different view of love, I think that's more accurate. And if they understood just a little bit about human beings and how this falling in love thing works, they might set themselves up for more success and less frustration and agony.
Right, because there's so much going on biologically and psychologically in that falling in love process, actually. And the more you understand all that, the more you know what's happening.
Yeah.
Which isn't that your partner has changed and isn't someone, I don't know, that you have to get away from necessarily. They might be, I guess. Because some people are on their best behavior in the beginning and then actually aren't who you thought. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And then some people are, they haven't changed. There's just more of them coming out, and now you're dealing with a whole person versus just your idea of who this person is.
Yeah, which is your fantasy of who you thought they were.
And that's the infatuation part. Like, you can't, it's sort of like you're saying, you can't really be in love with someone that you don't know that well.
Exactly.
You can be in love with your idea of them.
That's right. That's what it is.
Okay.
You're in love with an idea of them.
Yeah.
And what you see on the surface. And if we look at a person as like a whole person, and this is what John more or less kind of talks about, we're all these whole beings, but when we fall in love with someone or we meet someone that's really interesting and intriguing to us, and our heart wakes up and we get all these incredible feelings, we begin to project an image of them that we want to see onto them, and we think they have something we don't have. And we have kind of a half of a picture of them. We're blind to their downsides or their dark side or their shadow. And so we have this image we've conjured up, and it's great. And it allows us to feel all these amazing feelings that we're feeling. And I think, as Stan and others have said, it's like nature's trick to get us to just reproduce.
Yeah.
Procreate. And, because if we really knew who this person was, we probably wouldn't have sex with them.
That's always true.
Not always true. But, if we really saw the full, exposed them, all their neurosis.
You'd pause.
You'd pause. You'd slow the whole damn thing down. You'd be like, hold on a second. Maybe I should wear protection here.
Yeah.
Maybe we should date a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
And then let me just add this piece, and then I'd love to hear from you, is just so that happens, this kind of fantasy of who I think I'm seeing is really blinds me to who they really are. And then as I get to know them, as we come together and we join and we spend more and more time together, maybe we move in together, maybe we join forces, have a kid, buy a house. We step into like a stressful life together. We share our life. And that's after usually 1 or 2 years, 3 years, we get a little more serious. Who this person really is starts to come out, and it's really hard to continue to convey an image of perfection or an image of whatever they want me to be. Like, oh, I'm just this great person. I don't have any downsides, and I'm just so awesome. You can't sustain that. And you start to trigger each other, and then my real feelings and more feelings start to come out. And my irritation with you and your irritation with me, and I can't just hide my snarkiness, my judgmentalism, my how sensitive I am, how easily upset I get when you go away or you come too close. Like, I can't. That's very hard to hide. And so that starts coming out. And we both know that's a good thing. Yeah. Because now we can step into a new stage of the relationship, which I call like mature love. We move out of infatuation into the challenge or conflict stage. We're like, whoa, who are you? And so begins this dance of acceptance and learning how to practice loving them despite their flaws or in spite of their flaws. And now we can move more toward a mature, conscious adult relationship because it's based on reality, not some fantasy.
Reality.
And it seems like, and John also talked about the more infatuated you are with someone, when reality actually comes in, the harder the fall, meaning the bigger the resentment and the bigger the, oh my God, this is who you really are. And I've seen that time and time again. Like over the years, people have been like, I'm so in love with this person. It is the most amazing person. And they're just jacked on all the chemicals, right? And I'm just like, cool, give it a matter of time. And I want to be happy for them, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, cool, good for you.
Yeah.
But I know they're high and they're not thinking clearly. And then they make decisions like marriage and kids. And within, again, just a matter of time, they polarize extremely strongly. And they're like, I fucking hate you. You know, I loved you and now I hate you. And that's really intense to see.
Yeah. It's funny, as you're talking, I keep thinking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Okay, let's bring Taylor in.
Can we talk?
Let's go there. Since everybody's talking about them.
Because they're such... I think they're so cute. Everyone can think whatever they want, of course. And there was all this hype about like, oh, he's going to propose to her. And you know, and I'm like, God, I hope not, because they're in that stage of, maybe they did meet their person. Maybe they are finding their partner. Who knows? But it's way too early to know that. And they are writing some beautiful thing right now. I think they're both super psyched on each other and their love and their connection and having found each other and all of that. And it's amazing to watch everyone get kind of wrapped up in this, like, we want the like happy ever after. Like, you know, you like all the fairy tales, they meet, they fall in love, happily ever after. Like, that's it. And we know, of course, and pretty much everyone knows that's not reality. And they're real people who are going to have to figure out how to be together over time and be psyched and inspired and what mature love is going to mean for them and all of that. And who knows if they'll get there? We don't know. But what do you think about them when you see what's happening?
Yeah, I'm just like, great. I love Taylor Swift. I think she's fucking amazing. She's so inspiring to me. And our daughter, of course, is obsessed.
Yes.
So there's a lot of Taylor going on in the house here. But I just really respect and appreciate what a legend she is. And yeah, those two, like, great. Have fun.
Yeah.
And it would be really hard to have the spotlight on your infatuation 24/7. You can't, there's a whole nother conversation about celebrity and how difficult that must be.
Right.
But yeah, we do project like whatever our fantasies are about that.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of, as you were talking, of like just the sort of childhood fairy tales that we hear of like the knight in shining armor and the helpless woman, and all of a sudden he comes in and saves her somehow and they fall in love happily ever after. And I'm just like, God, it is such a disservice to children.
It is.
To just teach these bullshit fairy tales that then people buy into. And they think when you meet the right person, it's supposed to look a certain way, feel a certain way, like Taylor and Travis or whatever, and it's going to be great all the time. And it's like, no, it's going to, the more you're in a fantasy, the more you're going to create a nightmare. And so, you and I are always trying to teach people about reality-based relationships, practicing love. Yeah. And building in structure and shared values and like these grounded pieces, ways of communicating that, dealing with our mammalian wiring and, all of that. There's a lot to really strengthen a long-term relationship. And I think if you have the infatuation phase, I think that's such a beautiful thing because it is something that we can tap back into over time. I feel like I do that with you. That's, I probably could more, but just the sort of remembering of, how beautiful and mysterious and amazing our connection was. And
is still. Like, it's still there. Like, if we get really present. And so I think it can be something that you draw from and revisit with presence. But it isn't what, we still have to like figure out who's picking up the kids and who's making dinner and, how much we're saving. And like, we have the whole business of life to do. And none of that is super sexy sometimes, it's just dating and having fun together is really different than sharing a life over time where you're dealing with illness and challenges and
sharing a bathroom,
right? That gets really, really real, right?
Yeah.
So how do you stay inspired and connected through that, And of course there's many ways. And you're talking about also like this mature love, this sort of conflict phase. I was thinking about something that Ellen Boeder and Pete Pearson say, which is like, there's this, you're sort of, their model is sort of like you're merged and then you have to start differentiating eventually. Like that's what's trying to happen.
Yeah.
And there's even like a fall from grace or like a moment of disillusionment where you realize you're with a real human being or a flawed human being, which we all are. And then it's like, how do you recover and really build this real mature experience of being very connected, but really respecting that we're different people and thinking and feeling and experiencing different things a lot of the time. How do we do that? That's the long-term collaboration and what keeps things interesting and inspiring and creative and makes things possible that never would be if you were on your own or not having moved into that phase. I mean, we so believe in that process for growth and development and for deepening love. But a lot of people really struggle in that conflict phase or that differentiation phase and don't know how to get to a place of enjoying the growth and development that's possible when you're no longer in this merged, enmeshed thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like that with kids. Like our babies start out like as part of us. Like, it's like they're an extension of us. A baby comes out of my body. It's like kind of still part of me for a long time. And as our kids get older, it's like we see the differentiating happening and it's like really cool and our relationships are changing with our kids. I think we're like, oh, they're like teenagers now. And this is, how do they have their own sense of self and how do we stay really connected? And it's this cool, I don't wish for them to be 2 and 4 again. I loved that phase. I mean, we loved all the phases so much, but it's like, this is life. We're developing, we're growing. New things are possible.
Hey, if you want to uplevel your life, your relationship life specifically, I want you to consider our Relationship Mastery program. It's 9 months of complete transformation where you become a better listener, a better communicator. You learn how to have secure relationships and you get an experiential taste of that. You feel seen and supported and challenged to reach your relationship goals. And really, you become a better communicator. So many people have gone through this course now. And we have a done with you version of it now, which is amazing, where you get assigned a private relationship coach. You get to do live group coaching with me once a month and ask me anything you want. There's office hours where you get to meet with one of our coaches to nerd out on the curriculum. And the community is very strong. And these are people who care a lot about relationships and they want to get what they want to get, which is they want to be in a relationship and not betray themselves, right? They want to get the relationship they want while being true to themselves. That's what most of us want. And this course is the path for you to get that. Here's what one of our participants in the past has said about this course.
What I would say to people that have been listening to the podcast but aren't ready to take that final step into joining the course, the most powerful thing has been like the partner calls. The accountability is something that you're not going to get by just listening to podcasts on your own. Because I thought the same thing, like, oh, I'm getting a lot out of just listening to these podcasts, and I'm, been in therapy, I've, done this and that. To take that deeper dive and the commitment, there's something about just the financial commitment, the time and the energy that you put into it. What you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And so again, if, invest in yourself.
All right. Amazing words from one of our heartfelt students. here at the Relationship School. If you want to change your life like they did, go to relationshipschool.com/relationship mastery, and we'll see you in there. I think, first of all, I think infatuation is, I think about it somewhat differently with kids. With our kids, because I'm pretty infatuated with our kids. I come in and out, but they do things that take that immediately to the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They act like assholes, or they're just mean, or they're just helpless, or I don't know, they trigger me in some way.
Yeah.
So it's cool how it's built in, actually, like John talks about this. It's built in that a person, life seems to be designed to get us to just come back to our heart and to loving people.
Yeah.
And loving ourselves. And that's the center. If infatuation's high, and resentment's low, or infatuation's high and nightmare is low, the fantasy nightmare is, fantasy high, nightmare low. No one wants to be projected on all day long as this magical person. And no one also wants to be hated all day long.
Right.
We all want to be accepted for who we are.
Yes.
And it seems like life and relationships have this built-in thermostat to keep us back in the center, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of our people we work with and students in our courses, of course, swing from infatuation to resentment a lot. And it's hard once people get stuck in resentment to get out.
Yeah.
And we're just inviting you, listener, into a frame of love that's, I think, can hold all of it in a much better way, a much more sustainable way than the way we're taught about love.
Yeah, that it's like when you feel happy or you're in love, but when you're sad or hurt, you're not, or like that it's based on emotions or
when you meet the right person. Then you've struck the jackpot and you're always going to feel good.
Right.
This fantasy that you're always going to feel good.
Right.
I'm like, no. That's
right. Your partner is going to be difficult. There's going to be things about them
guaranteed.
that are annoying.
You're going to be difficult.
Yeah, exactly. None of us are easy. And yeah, there's something to, I like what you're speaking to around just like the bigger view of life and love, that it can include all of that.
Yeah.
And I think two people working together to be real and to love and accept oneself as we are, and our partners, and to continue to collaborate to keep making it work over time and feel good to both of you. Like the relationship should be a place that you're both a yes to.
Yeah.
And that takes collaboration and creativity and being real and honest.
Yeah.
And self-reflective and knowing where you want to go and doing hard things to get you there. Like there's a lot that you can harness together to create something that's very real, exists in this world, and is very inspired and beautiful and precious. And it's like you can have a whole spectrum. And yes, and then there's also going to be difficult times or hurt feelings or all of that.
And when you do all of the things that you were just mentioning, you have a shared vision and you talk about things, you communicate well, you set boundaries, you use your voice, etc. And you do it together and you work through the conflicts, etc. You're earning security. You're earning a strong foundation in your relationship. You're not entitled, expecting things to be easy.
Yeah.
And expecting things to work magically because you have chemistry and you just get along. You should just get along and it should be easy. Those people who have that fantasy about relationships are always going to be either single or in lame relationships, shitty, unfulfilling relationships, because they're expecting a fantasy and then they're getting a nightmare. So it's way better to be a growth-oriented person that's like, okay, this at times will get hard. We're going to need to be a team and apply ourselves. I'm going to be difficult. You're going to be difficult.
Yeah.
How are we going to navigate that? And that's the act, I think, of loving someone, is staying in it and learning how to respect and accept each other.
there's something I'm thinking about as you're talking, which is like, there's a terrain in which we work within that I think feels workable and good to both of us. And then because I'm thinking about people who, and just couples I've seen where people allow really like egregious behavior or the rupturing of agreements or betrayals and try to kind of fit that into what you're saying. So I guess I just want to speak to, because I feel like we get so many questions about people being like, well, like I'm trying to work with this person who's kind of impossible in some way, or who isn't collaborative with me, or we don't have any shared agreed ways about what works for us and what doesn't, what's a deal breaker and what's workable, you know? And I just want to invite people, like, make sure you know that about yourself. Like, make sure you know, like, what the kind of boundaries are there, like, around your relationship and what you are willing to accept or not. Because what we're saying, I just want to name that there are boundaries to what we're saying, because there are people that just that can't respect whatever your non-negotiable, non-workable behaviors or ways of functioning in a relationship are. And that, you know, I just like to make sure people know that we're not saying every person or every relationship is meant to be forever by any means.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I've seen too many people stay too long in impossible relationships.
Yes.
Under the guise of, well, I'm just doing what Jayson said. It's to try to love someone.
Yes.
Shouldn't I just stay here, and shouldn't I keep looking at my part? And like, I guess I'm kind of limited in my ability to love them. Maybe, but when it's impossible and the other person's not willing to repair with you, for example, like ever, that's impossible. You can't get to zero or get back to a good place when the other person won't even meet you halfway. That's called an impossible situation, and you don't need to stay in that.
Yeah.
And that work usually involves loving yourself enough to walk away. And I know that's extremely complicated for some, but that alone is a journey worth making.
Yeah.
Because every day you stay in impossible situations, you're really such a disservice to your own psyche and soul, and it takes a toll on your health.
Yeah. And I've just watched way too many people kind of be okay or make it okay for a partner to be really non-workable or really like,
not collaborative.
Not collaborative, let alone really, really kind of trample all over someone's sense of safety and security. And that's not something to stick around for or be patient about.
Yeah.
Totally. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Well said. So kind of in summary, maybe before we close, and I teach this in our relationship mastery course, which is really a course designed to help people get the hardest relationship down, which is the intimate relationship, usually the long-term partnership. And people that have gone through that course tend to be like, oh my God, they make a huge personal journey, of course, of valuing themselves more. But people get a realistic framework of how this whole love thing works. And I just think you got to be aware of the fantasy is you meet the right person or find the one, and it should magically work out. And remember, the good news and bad news is within a months or couple of years, they'll fall from grace, and you'll be in what's called a real relationship now, where you can practice love and together as a team. And that's a beautiful journey to make.
Yeah, it's true that the sort of biology that has us get together wears off.
Yeah.
And then we're left to our developmental capacities, our relational capacities to really work together to create something good for both of us. And you don't have to figure that out in the first 6 to 18 months. You have a lot of biology, hormones and neurotransmitters that help you kind of see no downsides.
Yeah.
And then as that wanes, you get to do the real cool development and connection and really get intimate. Like that's where real intimacy really develops too. So that is when it's time to really develop our capacities to communicate, to connect, to self-reflect,
to set boundaries,
to be humble, to really claim what we want, state what works for us and what doesn't, all of that.
And the cool thing is about partnership as a path, as Ellen and I have talked about many times here, is I get to learn to like myself and love myself more because by being married to you, for example, parts of myself have emerged that previously weren't around, and parts of myself sometimes I don't like, right? And I might push away or project onto you. And it's been a real amazing journey of learning to like myself and love myself more over time. So partnership it like pushes up to the surface our disowned parts, our unloved parts, the parts of us that that we feel ashamed about. And it brings it out in the open so that it can be loved, by me and you. And it's often really hard to do if it's a quote ugly part of ourselves that comes out, right? Like disgust or hatred or a real messiness or a real judgmentalism or whatever it is.
Shame, insecurity. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
So much in there
in us.
Yeah, and to be witnessed in that is it's why a lot of people go to therapy and coaching is because they want to feel accepted for their shame. Like can I like talk about this and have it be okay and have me not die and have me not be ostracized from the group and have me not be rejected.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing that's possible, and you have to be. I think for that to happen in a relationship, you have to be very considerate of each other too. Yeah. It's not like, oh, all this stuff can just come out. I can act however I want, and you're just supposed to love me anyway.
Right. Good point.
So I keep kind of saying this piece, but things are going to come out, and it's my duty in a relationship to take responsibility for them, to own them, and to have us, if you want to be part of, really knowing me in all these ways, then I have to consider you and how those things impact you.
Yeah. It's like, our young, messy parts come out, and they don't just get to, just like on the playground or at school, like, you don't get, carte blanche to just, throw rocks at another kid or throw insults at someone on the playground.
No.
Or, not follow the rules and be like, fuck you, I'm not playing the game. And it's sort of like social etiquette, it's sort of like we have to relearn basic social etiquette in an adult partnership also. And those are the guardrails. Yeah. Is to be a good person and to take good care of ourselves and each other and express ourselves and get that there's an impact on the other person when I express myself, especially if I have a tone of voice or it sounds mean or scary. Right. We want to be sensitive that there is another person here. Their feelings matter.
And that's very impacted by our behavior and our not so great parts. And there's just a lot of healing and development that's possible when I can own and take responsibility for that stuff. And also, get to a better place with you around it, or have some more choice around how that gets expressed or where it goes or what I do with it. Can I express these things without being hurtful, or pushing you away? I mean, there's a lot of complexity to how to allow those parts of us to come out and work with them in a way that's helping us grow. And that's a really cool part of being here for a long time.
Yeah. So, fall in love, have fun, enjoy it.
Totally.
Know that you're going to, and it's not, I don't see it as falling out of love, but you're going to you have the potential to go into a deeper love.
Absolutely.
If you embrace the challenging phase, which includes differentiation and conflict and repair. And as you get good at that, you move into another stage, which again, I talk about in Relationship Mastery. So yeah, I'm excited for you, the listener, to keep expanding your mind and your heart here about what this partnership thing really is about.
Yeah.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah. Thank you.